Hi class, before we get to organizing and chapter 16, I did want to cover one more scenario where interfaces help. And it's just one of many. You also use it for things like dependency injection, which you'll get into in later courses that you take. Enterprise application development and web server should get into dependency injection. But here I'd like to have one more use case for interfaces that's pretty important, and you should use in a class coming up. So let's say you're on a team, which anywhere you work, you'll probably be on a team. So you'll want to work on multiple parts of a project at the same time. So that's when you might want to stub out implementations to use until an actual implementation is finished. So let's say your partner is working on the database portion, but it might take him 8 weeks, and you don't want the UI guy just waiting 8 weeks for the database to be finished. You want him to start working, that way you can tie it all together at the same time. So let's create an interface. Add new item. Interface, and I'm going to make an interface that's going to represent my data access that I'm going to need for my application. So let's say I already have my service. So let's call it iProduct service. So here's this. Go ahead and make my interface public. I'll copy my interface name and go to my product service. And then I'm going to implement iProduct service. Now it's probably saying static classes cannot implement interfaces, which makes sense. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of the static portion on it. And then I'm also going to add these to the interface. Let's go ahead and F12 on the interface. Let's add this method. Let's add this method. So now you're working on a team project, and you have getting all products to your application and being able to save products back to the database. So here, I'm going to change the name of this to Product Service Stub. Yes, I'd like to do that everywhere. So now here's a stub implementation of my product service. You notice it doesn't actually reach out to a database. All it does is just return some dummy data to your UI. So now that you have this stub implementation available, now your UI person can get going. He can start work. He doesn't have to wait for the database to be finished. So let's say week 13 comes along, and the database person is finished, and you want to use the actual database implementation. He might come in and merge his code or put a class in here called product service, just like ours was previously. This is the database person's class that he made. With the same methods, I'm going to go ahead and implement my iProduct service. Implement the interface. So here's his methods, and instead of these throw not implemented exceptions, there's actually stuff here that reaches out to an actual database. Okay? So now, when I come to my main form, here, and I'm getting my products, what does it not like? Okay, because I need to initialize components. So what I need to do is have a type of iProductList or iProductService. And then whenever I make a new product maintenance form, when I have a new product service stub. So now when I come down here, I'm going to say product service .getProducts.toList. So I'm using my type of iProductService, and I'm saying whenever I make a new form, I'm using the stub implementation of my product service. So now my UI guy can start doing with his UI stuff, and then week 13 comes along, the database is done. So I no longer want to use this stub implementation. I don't have to do any refactoring. All I need to do is say product service. And now I'm using this implementation. Nothing else in the code breaks. Everything still compiles. Oh, just kidding. No. What's broken? Probably still something that's pointing to a static class. What is this? Product list? Oh, this is product list. Okay. I'm just going to comment this out. So I made this not static anymore, so I can't access it like I'm accessing it. Throw new not implemented exception. Okay. So I haven't implemented anything here, that's why I'm getting an exception. So I'd have to go back and stop using this implementation. I need to use my stub implementation. And here's my stub implementation. So it's as simple as that. That's a pretty decent use case for interfaces, being able to switch out implementations. Just having to change out one line of code instead of multiple lines of code. It's pretty powerful, being able to use polymorphism for something like that. Hopefully that makes sense. Reach out with any questions you might have, and then we'll start talking about classes in the next video. Thanks, guys.